Hey guys, welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into the best Marvel Rivals settings, the settings outside of Marvel Rivals, Windows settings, NVIDIA control panel, pretty much all that stuff. I normally don't do these kinds of videos, but so many people have been asking for one, and I've been meaning to do one for a very, very long time. I wanted to do one for Overwatch even back in the day, but I just never found the time and just never really had the passion. But now that this game is out, I feel like it's really important to kind of show what I use, why I feel like what I use is the best, and how you guys can utilize this for your own gameplay. So let's get right into the basics. You're gonna hit your settings tab. You're gonna go into display here, and here's kind of what I'm running at the moment. So I am playing on a 1440p monitor. My refresh rate is 360 hertz. I am using NVIDIA DLSS here. You can turn this off if you want. When you turn it off, your game looks really sharp, but I noticed that it's just very choppy. It just doesn't really feel good. Like if I go into practice range here, I'll kind of give you like a big rundown. Okay, so this is what my game looks like right now. I feel like it's really smooth. Everything looks great. I have really no complaints. Once again, I am using NVIDIA DLSS. If I turn it off, you can see there's like a much like different sharpness to the image, but it's like choppier. It's probably harder to see on recording, but I don't really like it. I don't think it feels as good for the mouse input. NVIDIA DLSS at 80 sharpening feels great for me. It's perfect. That's kind of what I use at the moment for that. But moving on, I do use the performance mode. I think in these kinds of games, like you have to use the lowest possible settings. I'm so serious when I say it. You want every bit of FPS, every bit of input to be focused on your peripherals. So that means your mouse, your keyboard, everything. You just want your computer to run the game as fast as possible. So once again, this is set to performance. Frame generation mode, some people use this. I think it's beneficial if you want like a smoother looking image, but like it definitely adds input lag. It just does not feel good. I personally don't use it. I don't want to get too much into the details so that the video isn't like 10 million years long, but I would just keep this off. Unless you're just casually gaming and you want a smoother experience, go for it. You can turn it on, but personally, I don't use frame generation mode. And low latency mode, actually, a lot of people use this. On paper, low latency mode should be great, right? Everything that they advertise about it, but I personally don't see like a really strong benefit to it. When I use low latency mode, it feels as if my mouse is faster, but not in a good way. Like I find myself overcorrecting shots or not hitting targets I should be hitting. Like it feels very like slippery almost. So I don't use low latency mode. You guys can if you want. But yeah, personally, I just turn this off. I feel like the input's just better without it. And I'll get into detail about that later in the video when we tackle the NVIDIA control panel stuff. So again, moving on, this stuff doesn't really matter. It's just kind of, you know, you get to see your FPS, your network stats, you can see, or you can actually limit your FPS here. I don't limit my FPS. You can if you want. Some people can get a better image, kind of like smoothness if you cap your FPS to a certain FPS. If you want to do that, you can like cap at 360 FPS, cap at 240, depending on like the rule of thumb is you cap your FPS at your monitor's refresh rate. So whatever it is, you basically will cap your FPS to. So you could do that, but I don't do that personally. I just uncap it to get the most amount of frames possible. But the thing about that is if you uncap your FPS, your input latency on your mouse and everything else kind of fluctuates a lot. That's why people cap their FPS, is because it keeps at a consistent latency that you're used to. So again, all preference. You could just change it to your refresh rate if that works for you. Perfect. Yeah, I just keep that unchecked there. So moving on, no VSync. It's just to prevent screen tearing. I literally don't remember the last time I've used VSync. I think the last time I used VSync was when I was playing an old BioShock game because it was so old, the engine was dookie. You should never have VSync on. Yeah, it just adds input lag. It's not good. So just turn VSync off. Moving on from that. So my graphics quality, again, everything is set to as low as it can go. Once again, you want everything to be as low as it possibly can go for the ultimate performance possible and the lowest latency. So again, everything is as low as it can go. And I'm so serious when I say that. Off, low, low, low performance. That's all you gotta do here. And I think that pretty much covers the base settings. There's not too much else to look into here. Okay, so moving on into the keyboard and the mouse settings in general, you're gonna want mouse smoothing obviously off. It says it reduces jitter and stuttering, but like you really don't need that. It just doesn't feel good at all. It makes flicking feel weird. It makes tracking feel weird. You don't want to use this. Keep this off. Mouse accel, obviously, you don't want mouse acceleration on. This can really just hurt muscle memory, I feel like. I think mouse accel has always been terrible. I've never used it in any of the shooter games I've played. But if somehow you're one of the random people that actually sees benefit in it, turn it on, use it to your liking. But I genuinely think that it is bad. So turn mouse accel off. They added it here. Again, keyboard section, combat, turn that off. For my sensitivity, I use 2 in game at 800 DPI. So on horizontal and vertical, 2 each. This is a higher sense than what I'm used to. And in Overwatch 2, I use a way slower sense in this, but I think it's like the different perspectives, like, or the different POVs, like first person and third person, that makes such a difference in this, because I've tried importing my slower sense from Overwatch into Marvel Rivals and I actually felt like I was just way too slow. Like I could not shoot targets around me. I couldn't track anything, and I just couldn't be really proactive around my screen and around like the map, what's happening. Because Marvel Rivals is a really fast game. In these games, you kind of need a higher sense so that you don't get jumped from behind and then your reactions are so slow because you need to flip your mouse around at like Mach 10 speed to actually see the target in time. I think a higher sense, again, is really beneficial. So I use a higher sense. Again, that's 800 DPI, 2 in game. And here's my reticle right here. I really like this reticle. I made it myself. It's pretty much like a 1-to-1 copy from my Overwatch crosshair. It's nothing like incredible by any means. It's obviously pretty basic, but I just think for what it is, it's just very solid. It's very convenient and it's just classic, to be honest. So if you guys want my crosshair, I will input this crosshair code into the description. You can copy it. All you got to do is just import a save and then put my reticle code in there, and then you can use my crosshair. I like the color yellow in this game. I've tried red, I've tried blue, green. I feel like yellow just, I don't know, really fits this game for some reason. So again, if you want my crosshair, it'll be in the description below for you guys to use. All right, so let's get into the NVIDIA control panel settings. I'm very picky about these because I feel like these really do make such a big drastic difference in how your game feels. So we're gonna go through one by one on what I use and why I use those specific settings. So image sharpening, obviously you don't need this, keep this off. Ambient occlusion is set to off. Anisotropic filtering, you can put this at off. I just don't like anisotropic filtering. So yeah, I actually did not have that set to off yet, but yeah, turn that off. You don't need that. That just can add like unnecessary input lag and other things that you just don't want. So that's set to off. Anti-aliasing, obviously off. Gamma correction, you can keep this on. I've tried this on off. I just did not really like the feel of it. It just feels kind of clunky and weird. So that keep gamma correction on, anti-aliasing mode off. Moving on, you don't really need to mess with these 2 things here, or sorry, these 3 things. This doesn't really matter. The low latency mode. So okay, this is what matters here. So a lot of people set this to ultra, and I've tried on ultra and off, and every single time I find myself using the off mode, because when you set it to on, your game like is faster, but not in a good way. It like refreshes what happens on your screen quicker, but it just felt very inconsistent to me. And it's kind of exactly how it feels in the low latency mode, or the reflex mode, sorry, in game as well. Like I just don't think these settings are good in terms of like how aiming feels. I always find myself the most accurate and the most consistent with low latency mode set to off. So I would set that off. You can try on or ultra. I think ultra is terrible, by the way. Ultra just feels like really fast, but also muddy at the same time. I just don't like it. Again, up to you. Personally, set this to off. But yeah, moving on, monitor technology. I just have it at fixed refresh. I don't use G-Sync. I don't think anyone else should really use G-Sync. I don't think it's that great. So yeah, I just have that set to fixed refresh. And moving on, power management mode. You want this set to prefer maximum performance. So keep that at prefer maximum performance. Again, really important. That's set to that. The shader cache size, I would just set this to driver default. Doesn't really need to be changed to anything else. I've tried the other settings. They just don't really feel good. So driver default for that. Texture filtering, the sample option thing here, just turn this off. You don't need this on. Texture filtering, negative LOD bias. I have this set to allow. Clamp does not feel good. Again, just the settings feel weird to me, so I don't use them. And the reason I'm using like such basic terminology for this, like, oh, this doesn't feel good, or like this isn't like what you should use, because if I go again into details of these specific settings, the video would be so long. So I'm just gonna tell you guys what I like, what I don't like. Okay, moving on. Texture filtering quality set to high performance. Obviously, quality will take more resources out of your game. Texture filtering trilinear optimization, set this to on. Very important. And this setting right here, threaded optimization. This allows applications to take advantage of multiple CPUs. So this is single-handedly the most important setting that should be set to on. This will make the biggest difference in your game. It's normally set to auto. Set this to on. This will for sure increase the responsiveness of your keyboard and your mouse. Again, very, very important. Easily the most important option here. So set that to on. Triple buffering, obviously off. You don't need that. Vertical sync, obviously off. Virtual reality pre-rendered frames, set that to 1. 1 is the fastest. This setting here is just not worth turning on. I would just get that off. And then this one right here, Vulkan OpenGL, just set that to auto. Again, useless. Anyway, so that's the 3 settings that you guys can use. Very simple, nothing too crazy. So there's that. All right, and then moving into the resolution here on the display category, just please make sure your monitors are set to their correct refresh rates. It's so crazy because, believe it or not, a lot of people will buy higher refresh rate monitors and they won't even change the refresh rate on their monitors the entire time. Like, I've literally seen that happen. I've seen people play these games for years and play them on low refresh rates. So once you're in this section, click on your main monitor. This is my side monitor, so this is set to 144 Hertz. It's the highest it can go. So click the refresh rate. Make sure it's set to the PC mode on your native refresh rate, or sorry, your native resolution. And then on the refresh rate, go to the highest one. So my highest is 360 Hertz. So, and the last thing to do would be going into your adjust desktop size and position. So on your main monitor, these are the scaling options that I use. You want no scaling. You want to perform the scaling on GPU, override the scaling mode set by games and programs. This is the best that I've found. That feels the greatest. Don't use aspect ratio. Don't use full screen. Use no scaling. And that should make a difference as well for how your game feels. And one more thing, in the adjust image settings with preview tab, make sure the use the advanced 3D image settings option is selected. And I believe that's everything in the NVIDIA control panel. Okay, so here are the Windows settings. These are very basic, but I feel like also important. So you're gonna come over here to mouse, additional mouse settings, move over to pointer options, and make sure enhanced pointer precision is not enabled. I know this is the most basic setting ever, but I still see people have this enabled to this day. Absolutely crazy. You don't need to change your pointer speed, keep it default. That should be like, how many lines is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines in. So the 6th line is where your pointer speed should be. That's default. But yeah, that's it for the mouse. Another thing to do is to turn on game mode. I have it set off just to show you. Turn on game mode. And then come over here to default graphic settings. And you're gonna turn on hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. This again just reduces latency, improves performance. Very important to have this on. I think you guys should always use this setting. Okay guys, so moving on, something that is so important to do, and I mean so important. is you want to download CCLEANER, get the free version. It takes like 2 seconds, I promise. You're going to download this program, and once you download it off their website, you're going to go into Tools, Uninstall, and what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find Microsoft OneDrive. I already have mine deleted, so you don't need to worry about seeing it here, but for you, you will see Microsoft OneDrive here. You're going to click it, and you're going to either delete it or uninstall it, whichever it'll let you do. You might have to just hit delete. I forget what I did last time, but I'm pretty sure that's what I did. To find Microsoft OneDrive, get rid of it. Microsoft OneDrive is terrible. The next thing you want to get rid of is your Xbox game bar. It should be here as well at the very bottom. Again, mine's gone. But for Xbox game bar, please get rid of it. Delete it, uninstall it, whatever you have to do. Get it off your system. It is something that heavily bogs down your system, gives it stutters. It is terrible, terrible. So again, CCLEANER, clean up your PC. There can be other things too on here that you can just get rid of that are really easy to uninstall and just, again, free up some space and just make your PC run better. So again, CCLEANER free version, very important. So moving on, the next thing we're going to look into are the peripheral software programs. These are very, very important to showcase because I feel like these peripheral programs are very just unoptimized and not user-friendly and can be very just finicky and weird. So on my mouse software, to actually utilize my polling rate and everything, I have to literally click this button and then load up my mouse for the settings to be activated. So my debounce is at 0, motion sync off. Obviously, you never want to use motion sync on your mice. It's just not good in my opinion. Creates some input lag that you just don't want. So that's off. This is at 0. And this is the HitScan Hyperlight, by the way. If people wondering, it's a very great mouse. And my polling rate is set to 4,000 here. You don't want to use 8,000 because 8,000 is just way too much. It will just not work properly. It'll just take up too many resources and it will actually do your gameplay more harm than good. Unironically, like you would actually be better off playing at 1,000 than 8,000. But the nice little middle in between that I find works well is 4,000. And the safest bet is 2,000. But I think 4,000 is good. I personally like it. I play at 2mm LOD. And I have the high performance long distance mode set to on, because those are just important. Obviously, you don't want angle snapping or ripple control, any of that shit. So keep those off. But yeah, like with any of your mouse programs, make sure your mouse programs are running. But with my keyboard software, I actually want this to be closed because if it's running, this one specifically eats up a lot of resources. I don't know why it does that. I think web integrated software programs are way better than the ones you have to download for this exact reason. But when it does come to your mice, I would keep the program open all the time. So I will definitely always keep my HitScan program open, but this program I will close anytime I can. So with your keyboard, just do your editing inside the program. And once you're done, close it out. Here are my settings for my keyboard. I keep everything at 0.10 actuation, my rapid trigger at 0.10 sensitivity, top dead zone, bottom dead zone at 0.10 millimeters. Tachyon mode, never use this. Tachyon mode is just not optimized properly. I think it steals a ton of resources away from your mouse input because it's just generating so much like power or resources towards the keyboard by being turned on. And I just think it's not optimized or good at all. I actually think even my keyboard input is bad with this setting on. It doesn't really make sense. And I've had this issue on the Wooting and many other keyboards that have utilized this option. I also utilize the last input priority SOCD, otherwise known as snap tap or snappy tappy, whatever you want to call it, on my A and D key. It's not too good in Marvel Rivals. The movement is pretty basic in this game, but in games like Counter-Strike and Valorant, obviously it's extremely OP. But I still use it because I like it, and I think it's still, you know, a advantage over your opponent. So that's basically it for the software programs. Again, close out the keyboard program once you're done with it. But for your mouse program, I would definitely keep this open. Anytime I fully close it, I just don't think the polling rate or even the settings work properly. I've had this issue on other mice. It's not just this one, by the way. So again, just keep everything else closed out and make sure that your mouse program is open at all times. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all learned something from this guide. I stream every day on Twitch if you want to watch some solid Marvel Rivals gameplay. I play almost pretty much every day. I grind high and low, and yeah. that's about it. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Down as Mason goes down. That's one. Holding on, no ultimates on either side. It's all about who can fight right now. Keeping the pressure on, trying to get to the strategist. Gale taking out 2 though, and that's where Hawkeye shines. Make it 4 as he cleans up the rest. Make it 5 for Gale. Incredible shots.
Gale, are you kidding me? I mean, absolutely amazing from the Hawkeye of Solar. This guy absolutely on another level right now.